I am in communication with something.
Do they manifest themselves as grays for you or still?
No, not often.
So I know you've worked with Peter Levenda.
Yes.
He wrote a book called Unholy Alliance.
Right.
It's getting into really speculative territory that I don't personally feel high conviction in, but I'm curious to get your take on, which is that, the Nazis somehow allied themselves with an unholy force of non-human intelligence.
I don't even want to go down that path. I don't feel a level of conviction about it either. I think the Nazis were just shits.
But Levenda also helped you uncover that some of these experiments might have been post-Operation Paperclip, secret Nazi experiments of some of these Germans coming over.
Well, a lot of the Operation
Paperclip
Paperclip people apparently lived in my neighborhood.
Yep.
And my father was on a big house on the hill, and then across the street, a couple houses down, is an FBI agent and his wife. And then the street over, there's these scientists. So God knows what that's all about.
Right.
I have no idea. And then I'm going out to Randolph every Thursday night for these things. And then that ends. And, I sort of go back to living a normal kid life. I have a wonderful childhood.
It's almost that made me think, is there something about inducing such a high state of human suffering that opens a crack in the same way that an immense amount of love and focused intention can also open, cracks open something in our fields that allows, someone who's thinking about you with a lot of love allows you to maybe feel that.
Yeah, I think you might be on the right track. I think that's exactly what it was about.
And even when I think about idea of angels and demons, for one force is exploiting human potential and humanity to the most that they can. And then the other forces, there's they're trying to levitate or elevate the just the way we think and the way we act. And maybe the extremes do something to our reality that then brings in things.
Well, I started to have weird experiences in my childhood after this. And I had a normal childhood, and the weird experiences were very compartmentalized. I remember two incidents. I remember an incident of my father taking me out to the country house. And in the middle of the night, it was cold, so it must have been the winter. And this strange car showed up with these glowing lights that didn't shine and came rushing down the road and stopped in front of the house very abruptly, like it was not a normal car. And then the next thing I knew, this object that was squared off came tumbling across the sky and went into the back pasture behind the house. And it was back there glowing. And I tried to talk to my dad, and he was just standing there. He couldn't move or didn't move. And then I felt like I needed to go find out what was going on. And I went out toward the back pasture, and that's all I remember. And then the other incident was very weird. Suddenly one afternoon, my mother and father gathered up my then baby brother and my sister, and they all went to the country house, leaving me at home with my dog alone at the age of 11. Without, mother said, well, just call us if you need anything. I needed a lot of things like a dinner and, a life and, not being left in the house alone in a scary night by myself. Yeah. So after a while, I made a dinner, probably peanut butter sandwich or something. And I went to watch a little TV and then went up to bed to find I had an air conditioner. The house was too old to have been centrally air conditioned. And there was a window air conditioner that looked out on a window, and there was a lower roof beyond that window. And the window above the sash above the air conditioner was sealed, and it had been pulled down, and the seal was all hanging loose. And I could see, it was obvious that it was just a little past dusk. There was someone on the roof. And so I went down and called the country house, and my mother answered, and she said, well, if there's someone on the roof, telephone the police. Did you see how strange this all is?
Yeah, she didn't come rushing home.
Right, exactly. Or why did they go in the first place? So
Your dad must have had some involvement in that.
I mean, he must have.
So you must have speculated, if he was this high-ranking Army officer who he probably had clearances, right?
But I don't know. I know listen, he would tell you, mother said, well, he found apartments for GI, the wives of GIs who were abroad. And then if you asked him what he did during the war, he said, well, I just used to pick up cigarette butts at Fort Sam Houston, keep the place clean. And so, I have no idea what he did.
But you're pretty sure that's not true.
I have a feeling somehow I didn't pick up cigarette butts. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was his name?
His first is Carl Strieber, K-A-R-L.
Okay.
And getting back to this, I went downstairs to call the police, but there was no 911 in those days. I didn't know how to call the police. So I've got the phone book. There's a man in the house upstairs coming in the house at any moment. And I'm looking in the front of the phone book for the Terrell Hills, the local police. I finally find the number. I call them. And the lady answers. And, we only had like 3 cops. It was a small community, a bedroom suburb of San Antonio, but an independent city. Save on taxes. And a cop comes. I know the cop. I know all the cops. All the kids do. It's not, it's a very small scale deal. He parks it down at the front of the house. It's a half-acre front lawn with big, huge hedge, like 60 feet tall ligustrum hedge, and a bower kind of and he comes through, and I see him coming up out of the shadows, and he's got his gun out like this. He's coming to the house with his gun in his hands, and it scared the hell out of me. What did he know that I didn't know? And so he comes in the house, and I say, he's up on the roof, and he goes running upstairs. Seconds later, he comes running down, yelling, "There's no one there. There's no one there." He runs down to his car, gets in it, and drives off. That was it. Then what happens to me? I actually don't know. The rest of the night, I don't remember a thing about it. I remember my parents and my sister coming home the next morning. It was a beautiful morning. I came home at about 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. Before noon, because I had lunch with them. I'd made my own breakfast. I remember that. That's the story.
And you're still in communication with the NHI, is that right? As of today.
Yes, it's part of
an NHI non-human intelligence.
I am in communication with something.
Do they manifest themselves as grays for you, or still?
No, not often. Once in a coon's age, about a year ago, I'm pleading. I want you to come in front of the cameras. I've got 2 different camera systems in the house. I've been trying to get pictures of them since the 80s.
Do you have any?
No, I do. I have very little stuff. A few things. They got pissed off at me a couple of years ago, and all these strange explosions got picked up as a result of that, and on the cameras, and I've got that. And they like me to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to commune, I guess.
Yeah.
And
is it at a specific time?
Well, it's an hour. If I'm right about what it is, there's an ancient yogic tradition of Brahma Muhurta time. The time you're nodding your head.
Yeah. Because in Islam, it's also there's like in a lot of religions, that time is like very sacred. You do commune with God, like the highest, the highest. In Islam, the prayer that you do around that time is the one where you're supposedly closest to God, and I think it has something to do with actually like having gone to Joe Dispenza retreat. There was a whole thing around like melatonin being there's something mystical about that we still don't understand about how melatonin makes the makes the brain act when we're asleep.
Mm.
And that's why some of his meditation would make you wake up during that time.
Well, I wake up during that time every night, every single night.